So last week I finally got around to reading The Beginning and the Friend comic strip, a fan-made Eddsworld comic. And I'm happy to say that I really enjoyed it. I thought it was an interesting, more adult take on the Eddsworld world and the characters within it, and in general I just really enjoyed my time with what's been released so far. But with all that said, you'd think that considering its high quality and high status symbol, that it would be quite easy to find. But I found even the process of reading it in the correct order to be kind of opaque. And I know this isn't just me. I've been in at least one or two forum threads where The Beginning of the Friend has come up in conversation and someone said, yeah, this looks great, but where do I find it and how do I actually read it? If you're one of those people, then I am going to show you how to find and read The Beginning of the Friend in this video. But first I think it's mentioning that The Beginning of the Friend is not your typical family-friendly kids version of Eddsworld that you might be familiar with. It's a lot darker, a lot more mature, more for an older audience. I'm going to spare you all of the graphic imagery in this video, but there's this one scene in the first half of the comic where Tom gets quite beaten up and they are not afraid to show blood. He gets punched a few times and he ends up in a pool of his own blood, and he's all like face down, and it looks like someone steps on his hand at one point, but they don't. They just step in the pool of blood that's already there. It's not very nice. That is about as bad as the imagery gets so far, although I can't speak for what's to come since they are still making new pages for this comic, and also it can be gross in other ways. I think it's also worth mentioning that on their page they mentioned that adult themes may be referenced in some of the imagery and some of the jokes. I think that's a pretty fair statement, make of that what you will. Given this information, I'll let you decide whether or not this comic sounds right for you. If you're a little bit younger, then I would suggest skipping this, but there is a way for you to experience at least the story of The Beginning and the Friend, which I will show you nearer to the end of this video. So once you're in Chrome, the first thing that you want to do is go to this DeviantArt page. I'll have a link to it in the description below. I would suggest making an account if you haven't got one already. This isn't necessary for reading the comic, but you might want one for reasons that I'll get into in a sec. Once you're on the page, you'll actually want to click on Gallery. And then once you've done that, you want to scroll down and click on this one here, The Beginning and the Friend Gallery. Then once you're in here, you'll see this new category called Sub-Galleries, and each one of these is effectively a chapter of the complete comic strip. Of course, this comic has a continuous storyline, so if this is your first time reading, then you want to click on this first gallery, Chapter 1. Finally, from here you can just click on the first page where you can start reading. Now this is where having an account might come in handy. See, what you can do from here is just click on the left and right of each image to navigate the pages. And this works fine, but you can also click on this button down here to make the image full screen. And if you'd like, you can zoom in once more by clicking on the image with your cursor. And now you can use the left and right arrow keys on your keyboard to go back and forth like that. And this is a much more seamless and immersive way to experience the comic, but I find it only works if you actually have an account. I've tried doing this without logging into DeviantArt, and whenever I do, it just tells me to make a new account. You can also read the comic on your iOS or Android device. The process is a little bit different, as everything is available under the gallery section, but more or less the process of finding and reading it is exactly the same as on PC. I will say initially I tried to read the comic on my iPhone 6s, not this one, but the thing I'm using to film myself with. But I found even that screen to be a little bit too small. The Beginning of the Friend is a very detailed comic, and to really experience all those details you might prefer to read it on a bigger screen. I would say the very best way to read it is on a tablet, something like a Fire tablet or an iPad if you own one. So for the rest of you who don't want to read the comic because you don't like the gore or you're just really allergic to reading, there is a way for you to at least experience the story of The Beginning and the Friend without reading it. The team who make the comic have their own YouTube channel where they host animations and extras related to the comic, and there you can find 3 animations, 2 of which follow the story of the comic book basically point for point. The first one is called Legend, and that is animated by the fantastic Luli of the YouTube channel Cheyannix, and that one follows the story from chapters 1 through to 5. The second animation is called Discord, and this one is animated by the equally brilliant John Lopez from the YouTube channel John Mustu, which I'm pretty sure I've pronounced correctly this time. And this one mostly follows the story from just one of the chapters. There is a third animation called Change the Formality. This one was also animated by Luli, but it mostly focuses on one of the characters rather than the storyline, although it is still absolutely fantastic and really worth your time. These are brilliant animations, and whilst they might not be a substitute for the comic, they are perfect adaptations in my mind. There isn't any of the dialogue, they're all music videos, but that doesn't stop them from being just really fantastic. I read all 3 of them before I even read the comic, and I do not regret that at all. I'd say read it first if you want to, but if not, then these are brilliant on their own. They're just fantastic. Go watch them. Even if you've already read the comic, they're brilliant. Finally, I should also probably mention that there are dubs of the comic that you can find on YouTube made by fans and not the actual creators. Some people might prefer to read the comic like this, although I wouldn't really suggest it. I can't really speak for the quality nor really the legality of these fan dubs. I'm not really suggesting that you read it like this, although it is an option. I just want to acknowledge its existence. Whilst we're talking about the comic, I had this sort of pie in the sky type of idea, which I know will never really be realised, but I still thought was pretty interesting, and that is, it would be nice if one day, once the comic was finished and completed, we could have a version of the comic available, like it to read as a comic book. So you could download some PDFs and flip through it on your tablet, or you can print them off and then put it on your bookshelf or something like that. This would be extraordinarily difficult and perhaps impossible because the formatting of some of the pages doesn't work like the rest of them, but I decided to make this simple mock-up of the first few panels, and that is exactly the right proportions for an A-series piece of paper, something like an A4 piece of paper. And then just for fun, I decided to crop out that information that goes above it, and that fits perfectly in a 3:4 aspect ratio. Now, I'm not saying this is ever going to be a thing, nor would I really want it to be a thing, but it would be kind of nice. I don't know if this video was useful to anybody, but I would have liked to see it when I was first searching for the comic. Maybe it's just because I don't really use DeviantArt, but then again, a lot of people don't, and I think that at least I've been able to introduce some people to something they can find some joy in. That's about it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah.